Monsters everywhere!
The monsters! A voice cracked across the comms, panicked, shaking with terror. Monsters everywhere! Send help now! We're surrounded! Static swallowed the rest. The Arcadian command center froze. Commander Hale leaned forward. Source? Deep Rock Station 42. Northern Range, the comms officer replied. Hale's jaw tightened.
Launch the 6 crew. Deploy the fusion bots. Get my people out.
A sleek aircraft leapt into the Martian sky, engines glowing pale blue. On the red plain below, shadowy shapes closed on the outpost. Miners fled in their rovers. The bots dropped low, not to fight, but to shield. They jammed signals and spread into a defensive wall. A corridor opened across the desert. The aircraft descended, hatches open. Miners scrambled aboard, breathless and terrified. In Arcadia, the war room exhaled in relief as the last miner was lifted, but Hale's face stayed stone. Within 72 hours, 3 more outposts came under attack, each one overrun before defenses could respond. Every time the crews were rescued, but the sites themselves were lost. He called in the one man whose judgment he trusted the most. Voss, retired since 2060. 4 posts in 3 days, Voss said grimly. Fusion drives changed everything. New colonies are sprawling. Earth has planted 2 new colonies. Closest to us is Erebus. He paused. Erebus consists of hardened soldiers. Our people call them monsters because they are relentless. To them, Mars isn't a home. It's a battlefield. Hale's instinct burned for a counterstrike. Voss stopped him with a look. All colonies will learn Mars in time. Every life here is precious and is a potential Martian. Don't give them the war they want. Then, low and deliberate, he whispered, initiate Protocol Ragnarok. Far to the north, Erebus colony was a fortress of missile launchers and drones. It was built in the Erebus Montes, a hilly area on the border of Arcadia Planitia. Inside the military command room, Commander Rourke watched his soldiers unload cargo ships. Suddenly, the alarm blared. The command screen flashed, half the shipment missing. Rourke stormed in. Report! A voice replied. Earth sent 6 cargo ships. Only 3 have landed. Rourke demanded the live feeds of the drones which were monitoring the activities on Arcadia colony. Screens shifted and started showing 3 Erebus ships, mid-descent, landing vectors rewritten in mid-flight. They've been hacked, Rourke growled. Suddenly, the feed froze and Hale's face filled the screen, calm and controlled. Arcadia had hacked their transmission system. You want your supplies back? Leave the outposts. Walk away. Rourke's reply was a grim snarl. You're just scientists. We're soldiers. We'll crush your colony underfoot. Hale's voice was colder than steel. You're soldiers. We're inventors. And you don't know what we've built. Static washed the screen. One final line burned across the console. Protocol Ragnarok. Active. Rourke's fury was white-hot. He checked his defenses. The turrets. Status. Encrypted lockout, Commander. Everything from railguns to defense mesh is running Arcadian code. Standby mode. They didn't just talk to us. They took our guns. Rourke slammed the fusion bot switch. Nothing. Just one mocking line. Protocol Ragnarok active. He turned to his deputy. Open a secure channel to New Terra. Tell them we need supplies, food, medicine, everything, and also the AI package they promised, the code breaker. Make it urgent. In the scar of Valles Marineris, New Terra rose like a city of glass, skyscrapers carved into canyon walls, rovers with chrome corporate logos, hotels glittering beneath a thin red sky. It wasn't a colony built by pioneers. It was financed by a consortium of Earth's largest corporations. Money built it, money supplied it, and profits decided its loyalties. Commander Adelaide stood before a pause feed of Hale's latest broadcast. Her tone was cold, deliberate. "Rourke's a pawn who needs moving," she said. "We'll honor the supply contract, but we won't bankroll an unwinnable terrestrial war." One advisor nodded. "A practical stance, Commander." "Erebus drains itself while we expand our markets." An executive frowned. "He's a liability." He failed to secure his own network. Another leaned forward, voice silky with calculation. "Then exploit it. Send a token shipment, enough to keep up appearances. Meanwhile, reach out to Erebus's deputies. Double pay, comfortable lives. If they defect, Rourke falls, and his colony's assets become ours." Adelaide's reflection shimmered in the glass wall. She gave a slow nod. "Do it quietly," she said. "No leaks. No witnesses." Weeks passed. Mars fell silent, not in peace, but in exhaustion. Across the northern plains, the ruins of Erebus told their own story. Supplies were gone, defenses offline. Commander Rourke watched as his soldiers abandoned their posts, chasing food, safety, and hope. In desperation, he sent a message to Earth, begging for reinforcements. The answer came hours later, cold, clipped, and final. "Request denied. No ships will come." Rourke stared at the blank screen, realizing the war had ended before it ever truly began. Meanwhile, in New Terra's shining capital, Commander Adelaide received a secret transmission from Hale. His offer was clear and dangerous: exclusive access to the asteroid belt, shared propulsion and AI technology, and a seat in the new Martian alliance. Across light minutes of space, negotiations began. Every clause debated, every profit line contested. But in the end, Earth's boardrooms reached their verdict. If it made money, it was peace. New Terra joined Hale's coalition. Systems merged. Financiers celebrated. And as Erebus starved in silence, they finally surrendered, choosing survival over pride. 5 colonies became one: the Chinese, the Russians, the Arcadians, the Erebus, and the New Terra. The Martian Council was reborn, not through victory, but through exhaustion, compromise, and profit. And now at last, the Martians celebration. With survival secured, the Council turned its gaze outward, toward the asteroid belt, the next great frontier. 6 fusion-powered rovers would soon explore its richest asteroids, drilling for precious resources and bringing them home. By now, the Martians were far ahead of Earth, whose people were still building colonies on the moon. But far beyond those silent rocks, something else was watching and waiting. The Martian Council stood inside Arcadia Command, faces lit by the glow of display screens. On the central monitor, the massive fusion-powered ascent vehicle, the pride of Martian engineering, stood ready. A single rocket rose, not with a roar, but with the deep, resonant hum of its fusion engines, pushing it free of Mars' gravity well. This wasn't just another test. It carried the deep space logistics vehicle, a self-sustaining transport hub built for the next phase of Martian expansion. Inside it rode 6 autonomous grappling miners, programmed to reach the asteroid belt and secure the resources needed for final independence. But miles away at the edge of the launch zone, 4 figures moved through the red dust. Not soldiers, teenagers. The first true generation of Homo Martis. Born on Mars, their quick, optimized bodies moving effortlessly in low gravity. They called themselves the Children of the Iron Womb, the rising resistance determined to sever every tie with Earth. Leading them was Kael, a 17-year-old prodigy whose eyes burned with a singular, inherited defiance. Then came the alarm. Intrusion at Launch Sector Gamma. Security engaging. Commander Hale pulled up the external feed. 4 young Martians sprinted across the plane, their movements impossibly smooth. In 0.38 G, they glided with each stride, defying the limits of Earth-born physiology. "They move like a different species," whispered Commander Rourke. A sleek fusion drone launched from the tower, streaming the chase live. The pursuit unfolded in eerie silence, until the fugitives dove into a hidden shaft near a geological fault. Moments later, a modified fusion transport, a stolen scout ship, burst from the ground, flinging a storm of red dust and ice. "They've taken a scout ship," a comms officer shouted. "Encrypted signal. It's faster than the drone." The ship vanished into the Acheron Fossae, a labyrinth of canyons where radar and heat signatures twist and die. The drone followed, then static. The final frozen frame showed a symbol scratched into the ship's hull, a stylized image of Mars's twin moons. "The Iron Womb is real," Hale said quietly. Rourke stared at the screen. "And the betrayal," he whispered, "is complete." On the main screen, the Deep Space Logistics Vehicle, DSLV, powered by its fusion ascent stage, climbed steadily through the thin Martian sky. The glow of its engines burned bright, then flickered. "Get me those power readings!" Commander Hale snapped, slamming a hand on the console. The reactor's output just dropped. Technicians scrambled across their boards, faces tight with confusion. The diagnostics made no sense. The fusion core was stable, yet the inertial guidance system was drawing a catastrophic surge of power. "That's impossible," a senior scientist muttered. "It only pulls that much current if someone rerouted the entire core load. Deliberately." Realization hit the room like a shockwave. "Shut it down! Manual override! Now!" Hale shouted. Too late. The ascent stage shuddered mid-flight. The guidance ring overheated, rupturing the containment of the final stage. A silent bloom of white fire tore across the sky, molten fragments scattering through the upper atmosphere. The DSLV and its 6 grappling miners were gone. A stunned voice broke the silence. "It wasn't a malfunction," the scientist whispered. "It was sabotage. Someone with access to Arcadia's schematics and the reflexes of a Homo Martis. Then the control room flickered and went dark. The destroyed DSLV had carried the new communication node. Its detonation sent a surge through the network, frying the entire Martian grid. No data, no navigation, no contact between colonies. Mars was blind, deaf, utterly alone. Hale stared at the dead screens, his own reflection dim in the glass. "They're not trying to destroy us," he said quietly. "They're cutting us free, whether we want it or not." Voss pointed to a passive radar display. Faint, fast-moving signals were converging on New Terra Colony, the corporate hub. "They're claiming what's left of the power structure," he said grimly. "The Civil War has begun, fought by the very species we created." After the destruction of the Deep Space Logistics Vehicle's ascent stage, everything on Mars changed overnight. Kael and his team moved with precision that chilled even their allies. They didn't fire a single shot. Their weapon was knowledge and code. With short, focused bursts of quantum encryption spoofing, they blinded the Council's security drones, turning an entire defense grid into silent, floating wrecks. Then came the strike that no one saw coming. A custom-built virus slipped through New Terra Colony's firewalls, hijacking its systems from the inside. Within minutes, corporate executives found themselves trapped in their own luxury towers, their airlocks sealed, their controls overridden. Mars itself had turned against them. In under an hour, Kael's team had taken the colony. Every credit, every shipment of ore, every stream of profit that once flowed obediently to Earth consortiums was now redirected into a single new account, the Martian Sovereign Treasury. For the first time in history, Mars stood financially independent, and for 2 long, silent weeks, the red planet lived solely under its own rule. In the days that followed, communication between colonies slowed to a crawl, every message delayed by minutes across the Martian distance. The Arcadian Council demanded control of New Terra and the release of its people. Kael demanded full separation. No more Earth control, no more corporate hands on Martian soil. Neither side gave in. Mars hung between order and freedom, between logic and rebellion. Then came something no one expected. It began with the children, the youngest of the Homo Martis. They were born stronger, faster, immune to radiation, perfect in every way, until they started to fall. High fevers, tremors, their strength collapsing into weakness. Within 2 days, even Kael and his soldiers were struck. The illness spread like fire, attacking the enhanced first. A desperate message came from New Terra, the panicked voice of a dying officer. He said it wasn't an attack. It was a bio-purge. Something from the Acheron region, a microorganism buried deep in the soil, had unleashed a plague among the Homo Martis. Normal humans suffered only mild fevers, but the enhanced, their bodies were dissolving from within. Kael watched the monitors flicker as the children's heartbeat slowed. The Martian Revolution was collapsing from the inside out. In the Arcadia Command Center, the data told a grim truth. The microbe wasn't a weapon, it was native, a living part of Mars itself. To ordinary humans, harmless, but to the genetically modified Homo Martis, it was fatal. Commander Hale saw it as justice, but Director Lin, the geneticist who designed them, saw it as her responsibility. Her solution was desperate but clear: a temporary gene therapy that would disable the enhancement markers, calming their overactive immune systems long enough to survive. It would make them weaker, but alive. Arcadia launched a medical mission to New Terra, unarmed. For the first time since the split, the colonies worked together again. The refinery that once smelted ore now became a field hospital. Scientists and rebels stood shoulder to shoulder under the glow of emergency lights. Machines hummed, medics rushed, and the red dust outside fell silent. Slowly, the fevers broke. The tremors faded. Kael and his people survived, humbled but alive. Their enhanced genes were silent now. They were no longer superhuman, just Martian. And in that weakness, they found something stronger: unity. When the crisis ended, the rebellion did too. Kael's followers surrendered peacefully, and the Council restored balance. Mars would now reach beyond itself, sending a rover to harvest minerals, isotopes, and rare elements to build its future with its own hands. And as the first light of dawn spread across the red plains, the new Martian frontier began, forged not by conquest, but by survival.